Hey everyone, today I'm going to tell you about a Thai movie. It was about this guy, Phum, who had a deep grudge against the family of the main female character. Today, it just so happened that he met her when she accidentally dropped her earring. This female lead was Roy, and she was a really strong-willed and super pretty lady. The reason Phum and Roy met was because he helped her get away from this creep who was chasing her. After taking care of the creep, he kindly checked to see if she was hurt. On the other side of things, the female lead's older sister was Dath. She was a sharp and successful woman, and she was currently the president of the Worathip company that her father had left behind. The two sisters, Dath and Roy, were getting ready to go onto the runway, but at this moment, Roy realized that one of her earrings was missing. But the show was about to start, so there wasn't time to find it, and she walked onto the runway with just one earring. The two sisters had perfect walks and totally stole the spotlight of the show, with everyone cheering for them. While Roy was performing, Phum, over on his side, held up her single earring and signaled to her that he had it. They both looked at each other and smiled. Roy told her sister that she had found the person who picked up her earring. It was the hero who had helped Roy escape the creep. Her sister, Dath, didn't forget to tell her to be careful with all men to avoid any bad things from happening. After the show ended, Dath was getting ready to leave for an auction. In the elevator, Dath ran into Phum again. She had heard about this guy from her sister. Phum started talking to Dath and then gave her a card. He just told her that he knew what important things she was doing. This made Dath really confused because she had never met this strange man before, so how did he know her work schedule so well? The auction that Dath was attending today was for an old house, but what surprised her even more was that the auction's advisor was none other than Phum, the same guy she met in the elevator. The bidding for the 4 companies present that day started when this old man took a drink of his wine and would end when he finished the glass. The 4 companies would all send their bids to a server and no one knew what anyone else bid. The winner would be the one with the highest amount. Dath typed in 180 and sent it off. When the bidding ended, Phum announced that Dath's company, Worathip, had won the bid for the old house. Back to that elevator ride, the card that Phum had given Dath had the number 180 on the back. Dath had used that number to place her bid and win the auction. It was clear that Phum had helped her this time. After the auction, Phum went to find Roy to return the missing earring from that morning. They talked for a bit, then Roy got a call from her sister Dath, and she excused herself to go. When Dath and Roy got home, someone was already waiting for them. It was Rin, the youngest sister in the family. She was a sweet girl with a natural beauty and was a really great cook. The 3 sisters happily ate dinner together. The next morning, Roy and Rin went to the cemetery to visit their dad's grave. From a distance, they saw that Phum was also at their dad's grave. Phum explained that the reason he was there was to visit his dad's close friend who had passed away, and that friend was also their dad. So they were all connected, their fathers had been really close friends. That's why Phum knew that Mr. Phueng had 3 daughters. He had returned after 20 years away, and they wondered what he was planning. At the office, this hot woman in a blue dress was Matt. She was the former secretary of Dath's deceased father. Matt wanted to talk to Dath about reconsidering a land project she had proposed, but before she could even finish, Dath flat out rejected it. This made Matt incredibly angry, but there was nothing she could do because she was just a lawyer for the company, while Dath was the chairman. At a restaurant, the 2 sisters, Dath and Roy, ran into Phum there again. Since Dath still didn't know that Phum was the son of their dad's close friend, Roy told her. After learning this, Dath was very surprised but also happy to meet an old friend, as they used to be very close when they were little. Later, Dath and Phum were at a meeting to sign the contract for the old property that Dath had won at the auction. After everyone had signed, Dath's lawyer, Uncle Khom, noticed that Phum's last name was very familiar. It sounded like a name he had once known. He froze for a moment, but quickly returned to his normal state to continue the meeting. After both sides had signed the contract, the check was given to the old man. After the meeting, Dath thanked Phum for helping her win the auction for the old house. It was also the first gift she had received for her birthday. At this point, Phum brought up the question that Uncle Khom had been pondering since he saw Phum's last name at the meeting. He asked Phum if he was related to Mr. Phueng since their last names were so similar. Phum replied that they weren't just related, but they were also very close. Mr. Phueng was his biological father. After learning his identity, Uncle Khom could only force a smile. After saying goodbye, Uncle Khom and Dath left. Uncle Khom told her that she should be careful with Phum because in the past her father, Mr. Phueng, had had a land dispute with Phum's father, Mr. Phum. Dath was unaware of this dispute because she was too young at the time. Uncle Calm reminded Dath to be wary of Phum because it was very possible that he was coming back for revenge. Dath told him that she knew what she was doing and that she wasn't someone who easily trusted people, so he didn't need to worry so much about her. Dath told Uncle Calm to wait for her in the car while she went back to where Phum was to invite him to her birthday party that night. Phum happily accepted. Back at the company, Uncle Calm was remembering the past. Mr. Phung had blamed him for creating false evidence to help Mr. Soin win the land dispute case between Mr. Phung and Mr. Soin. After losing that case, Phung's family had gone through many hardships, so he really hated Mr. Soin's family. The next day, in Natha's private office, another argument broke out between her and Matt. Matt stormed in and asked Dath why she would waste money buying a worthless old house when she wouldn't even look at the project that Matt was suggesting. She asked if Dath was trying to fire her. Dath didn't deny it. She also hated Matt because she was a terrible employee, but she always had outrageous demands. She was a thorn in Natha's side, and she really wanted to fire her. But because of her father's last wish, which was to keep his old secretary, Matt, Dath had let her stay until today. The next day, Natha's birthday party was happening, and Phum also came to celebrate with her. Everyone enjoyed the party together happily. After the main meal, Phum was walking around the house when his eyes accidentally landed on a picture hanging on the wall. It was a family photo of Roy, her two sisters, and their dad. At that moment, Roy walked by and saw Phum looking at the picture, so she went over to him. Roy told him that it was the last photo the three sisters had taken with their dad before he got sick and passed away. She got emotional and started crying, so Phum comforted her. He was about to give her a kiss when she dodged it and said she was going to get something outside, and left. Later, Phum went to the restroom and accidentally ran into the youngest sister, Rin. She was making dessert for the party. Seeing Phum there, she invited him to try the pudding she had prepared. Phum happily took the cup and then purposely dropped it so that Rin would feed him herself. Phum enjoyed the dessert and looked at Rin with flirty eyes, but it didn't last long because Dath appeared and told Phum that she had something to discuss with him. Phum followed Dath outside. After that close interaction with Phum, the youngest sister, Rin, couldn't stop smiling. Her heart was also fluttering. The party continued, and everyone in the house prepared a surprise cake for Dath and sang her happy birthday. After blowing out the candles, and since everyone was there, Dath announced that from now on, Phum was officially joining the Wanachat Corporation as her advisor. The three sisters, Dath, Roy, and Rin, were all happy when this news was announced to everyone, but Uncle Calm was feeling worried. It was late now, so Mrs. Suk asked to leave first. The people who stayed continued the party. Dath cut her birthday cake and gave the first piece to Phum. He took the cake from her hand, taking the opportunity to hold her hand. The two younger sisters, Roy and Rin, were starting to feel like something was off between these two. How could Phum be so happy with multiple women at the same time? Back at home, Mrs. Suk was wondering why Dath had so quickly accepted a stranger into such a high position at the corporation. Uncle Calm also told Mrs. Suk that Phum was the son of Mr. Phueng, Dath's father's close friend, but even though Uncle Calm had warned Dath about this man, she was still being so easygoing with him. In her room, Dath was reading the card that came with the bouquet of flowers she had received for her birthday. After reading it, she couldn't help but be happy, and her heart was fluttering too. It seemed like she had fallen for Phum. The next day at the office, in Natha's private room, Uncle Calm tried to stop her from stubbornly accepting Phum into the advisor position. He pointed out that their fathers clearly had a feud from the past, so bad that they took each other to court and even threatened to kill each other, so why was Dath still running headfirst into the son of her enemy? Furthermore, he said, Dath already had a capable advisor in her younger sister, Roy, so why was it necessary to add another person, Phum? Dath listened and brushed aside all of Uncle Calm's concerns, still deciding that she would accept Phum as her personal advisor. At home, the youngest sister, Rin, was preparing sweets to take to Phum. Mrs. Suk saw her happily making them and asked her who she was making them for and why she was so excited. After learning that Rin was making them for Phum, Mrs. Suk warned her to be careful with that man, that he wasn't as good as he seemed. She explained that her father had had a dispute with his father, and they had fought very fiercely. Rin, still very naive, said that was an issue for adults and that kids like her didn't know anything about it. Only today, when Mrs. Suk told her, did she realize that the two families had had a conflict. If that was the case, then maybe Phum didn't know about it either. This naive girl just thought it was all okay. In the meeting room, Phum and Nath signed the employment contract. She was paying him a consultant salary of 300,000 baht. After signing the contract, Rin also arrived to give Phum the cake she had worked hard to prepare. Phum happily accepted it and then excused himself to leave and prepare for his meeting that afternoon. On the other side of things, Nath felt very annoyed when she saw her younger sister bringing cake to the person she liked. Nath asked her younger sister why she was making things so complicated. She said Rin could have asked someone else to bring it, so why did she have to come herself? If people in the company saw them, they would gossip about their family. Rin said that she just wanted to bring it herself because she was afraid the cake would get ruined, and besides, she had already promised Phum. Rin got angry and left. Rin sat alone crying, remembering how, in the past, her older sister that had also forbidden her from associating with other boys because they weren't suitable for their family. Nath was always strict with her younger sister. Seeing Rin sadly walking out of the company, Phum quickly followed her. Seeing her crying, he gently comforted her as if she were his girlfriend. Phum's gentleness successfully made Rin happy again, and he enjoyed the cake she had made. On the other side, Roy was questioning Nath as to why she had accepted Phum to work there just because he helped her once. Nath explained that she had researched Phum's profile, and he was a talented person in the financial field. He had worked for many foreign companies, and his record was completely clean. This made Nath recruit Phum to be the advisor for the Worathip Corporation, so that she could take new and groundbreaking steps in the future. At the spa, where Roy was the manager, she arrived to find one of her employees being bullied by a customer. This sleazy guy was touching the employee inappropriately and still rudely yelling at them. Roy stepped in to defend her two employees, while calling out the man, telling him that just because he had money, he couldn't just do whatever he wanted there. She threw his card back at him. This made him very annoyed and embarrassed, so he was about to go and hit her when luckily, Phum showed up and stopped him. The sleazy guy, seeing a strange man suddenly appear out of nowhere to get involved in his business, gave him a punch. Phum was furious and punched him back. At that moment, security arrived and took the sleazy guy away. Because of the punch, Phum's lip was now cut. Roy tenderly treated his wound, remembering how in the past, she had also taken care of him when his arm was injured. After treating the wound, Roy was about to leave when Phum pulled her back. He said that it seemed that since he accepted the position as Thatha's personal advisor, it had made her uncomfortable. He told Roy that tomorrow he would cancel his employment contract with the Worathip Corporation. That evening, Phum went to Roy's house for the dinner date she had asked him for. He didn't forget to bring a bouquet of flowers for her. They had dinner together and shared their feelings. Phum reached out and held Roy's hand, giving her a deep kiss, and they both got lost in the sweetness. At the peak of the moment, there was a doorbell. It turned out to be her two best friends, Lucknom and Kem. Roy stopped what she was doing to go greet them. She was going to refuse to let them in, claiming she was sleepy, but they wouldn't give her such an easy out. Lucknom smelled something fishy and quickly rushed inside to check if anything was out of the ordinary. He caught Phum, shirtless, getting ready to put on a shirt in the bathroom. Lucknom couldn't take his eyes off his physique. Roy felt defeated at being caught by her two friends. After he left, she told her two best friends about her relationship with Phum. That's when the two of them realized they had ruined Roy's romantic moment. Roy's best friends were very supportive of her and Phum being together because they were both single, and Phum was handsome, talented, and even a bit mysterious. They were pushing for Roy and Phum to get together. After telling them everything, Roy reminded them that they couldn't let anyone know about the relationship between her and Phum right now. The next day, before Nath went to work, Mrs. Suk reminded her again about the past between her family and Phum. She tried to stop her from letting Phum be her personal advisor. Since Nath had hired Phum as an advisor, she had heard so much advice trying to stop her, first from Uncle Kham, and now from Mrs. Suk. Nath told Mrs. Suk to let the past stay in the past, and that things were going well between her and Phum. She said his attitude didn't show any signs of hatred. She told Mrs. Suk not to interfere in the matters of the corporation because, after all, she wasn't a shareholder or had any official position. It was better to let the chairman decide. On the other side, Phum was at the gym of Nat's company. This girl was negotiating with him, wanting to invite him to be her personal advisor at her company. Na was the daughter of a rich family and was very jealous of the Thatha's family, so when she found out that Phum was the advisor for Thatha's corporation, she also wanted to win him over for her company. Nat offered a salary that was double what Thatha's corporation paid in order to hire Phum as her advisor. he agreed that he would also be an advisor for her company. At the company, the employees were all admiring Phum's good looks as he quickly went into Thatha's office to get his work assignments. At this time, Roy was also there. Thath asked her to show Phum his private office. When they got to his new office, and it was just the two of them, Phum took her hand and asked her about the unfinished business from last night. Even though Roy liked him, she still acted like there was nothing between them and that they hadn't crossed any lines. Phum took her hand, looked her straight in the eye, and said that he had feelings for her. But Roy refused to give in and told him that he was now Thatha's personal advisor and she definitely wouldn't touch her sister's man. Just then, Thath walked in, ending the conversation between Roy and Phum. Thath and Phum went to an auction, and this was the first time that Phum was appearing in front of the media as the personal advisor to Chairman Thath. Reporters crowded around to interview Thath, asking if she had a special relationship with Phum, since she had never had a personal advisor before. Before Thath could answer, Nat cut in and said that Phum was also her personal advisor. Following the reporter's logic, didn't that mean there was also something going on between her and Phum? Thath didn't want to argue with her in public, so she quickly gave a short answer and went inside. At this point, Thath seemed to be a little angry at Phum when she found out that he was also working as Nat's advisor. Phum was explaining to Thath that, in addition to the Wanachat Corporation, he had also accepted another job as Nat's personal advisor. At that moment, Nat also came up, shamelessly linking her arm with Phum's to provoke the other woman. Thath, not holding back, retorted that Nat was deliberately following her around to get Phum's help with the auction while he was working for Thath, which made her no different from a beggar. She said that Nat didn't even know basic business etiquette. Hearing herself being called a beggar, Nat lost her temper and was about to slap Thath when Phum, standing right next to her, stopped her. When Phum touched Nat, another man rushed in and pulled Phum's hand away from Nat, giving him a punch. This man was none other than Nat's admirer, Karun, who was hopelessly in love with Nat. The two men struggled with each other for a while, and Thath stepped in to stop them, but Nat tripped her. Seeing Thath fall to the floor, Phum quickly let go of Karun and went to her side to help her up. Outside, Lucknom and Kem walked in and saw that Thath had fallen. They went over to ask her how she was doing and told her to go to the hospital. Phum picked her up and was about to take her to the hospital when Thath refused. She said that she could take care of the wound at home and told Phum to go home with her so that they could discuss work matters. Back at Thatha's house, Phum helped her inside, while Rin went to find medicine to treat her sister's wound. But Phum took over from Rin, using his gentleness and chivalry to tenderly take care of Thatha's feet. This one action brought out two different emotional states. Thath was very happy, while the youngest sister, Rin, seemed jealous. Mrs. Suk walked by and saw Phum rubbing Thatha's feet, so she went over and scolded him. She asked if he was a personal advisor or a gigolo who came all the way to her house to serve the chairman. Thath was very upset when she heard her aunt scolding the person she loved. Phum excused himself to go to the restroom. The aunt and niece were left arguing. Thath defended Phum, while Mrs. Suk still thought he had bad intentions and was trying to get close to Thath for a bad purpose. On the other side, Phum overheard Thath and her aunt arguing and smiled wickedly, knowing that everything was going according to the plan he had made. Later, in the kitchen, Rin was preparing lunch to welcome the corporation's personal advisor on his first visit to their house. Phum walked by and saw that she was focused on making food, so he went over and startled her from behind. Rin invited him to try the dish she had cooked today. She took a spoonful and fed it to him. He took the opportunity to hold her hand. This completely captivated Rin with his actions.
Phum
also didn't hesitate to pull her into a hug. The two of them were enjoying the warm hug, unaware that they had been spotted by their maid, Pawn. Pawn, seeing Rin and Phum hugging each other, was wide-eyed and didn't dare interrupt their sweet moment. Just a while ago, she saw that Phum was still happily flirting with the older sister, and now she saw him in the arms of the younger sister. Pawn quickly ran outside. At this time, Roy also came home to check on her older sister, as she had heard from her two best friends, Lucknom and Kem, who had also been at the auction. Roy went into the kitchen and accidentally saw her younger sister, Rin, and Phum alone together making food. Her smile was a little strained, but she quickly returned to her normal state. At the dining table, it was just Thath and Phum. He asked her with concern if her wound was feeling better. Thath replied that thanks to his care, she wasn't in pain anymore. Phum took her hand and, without hesitation, said things that made her heart flutter. He told her that he could take care of her business, and her whole life. He said that even for a smart and capable woman like That, he would be willing to stand behind her and be a solid support for her. His words were sweet, but That didn't know that this was also a trap set by Phum, and that it was the calm before the storm. At this time, Roy, Chiwi, and the youngest sister, Rin, also came to have lunch. That didn't seem happy with everyone's arrival because she just wanted to have more private time with Phum. During lunch, That informed Phum about the upcoming trip to a beachfront hotel branch, where he would advise her on whether or not to sell the hotel's shares. Rin, hearing about the beach, was very excited and asked to go with her sister, but she was immediately turned down by That, who said that it was a work trip, not a vacation. The meal ended, and Roy went outside to answer a phone call. Phum came up behind her and hugged her, giving her no opportunity to refuse. Roy tried to break free from his embrace, but she couldn't. He whispered in her ear, explaining that his feelings for her were real, that he had never flirted with her before, and that he had never done this with anyone else except her. Roy heard his sweet words, but still didn't soften at all. She ignored them because he was clearly her older sister's personal advisor, so she couldn't fall in love with her sister's man. Roy protested and told him to let her go quickly. She didn't want her sister to see her advisor hugging her. At that moment, Chiwi appeared and saw Phum hugging Roy, so he went over and pushed Phum away. Chiwi was so angry that he wanted to beat up Phum, but Roy stopped him. She didn't want to make things more complicated, so she told Phum to leave immediately and that she would explain to Chiwi later. As Phum left, he patted Chiwi on the shoulder, showing his defiance. On the other side, Roy and Chiwi went into a private room. When they checked that no one else was around, Roy told Chiwi that there was a kind of unclear relationship between her and Phum, but that their relationship hadn't gone anywhere. She was still restraining herself and telling herself that she couldn't fall in love with him. When Chiwi heard Roy say that she had feelings for Phum, he felt a little disappointed. He had clearly been with Roy for so many years, so how could she not have any feelings for him? On the other side, based on the information that Uncle Calm's driver had found, Uncle Calm was now going to the house of the man who used to be Mr. Phueng's driver to ask for some information about where Mr. Phueng was. Mr. Phueng's old driver was now very old and weak. When he heard Uncle Calm asking about Mr. Phueng's situation and wanting to reconcile with him, the driver didn't hesitate to tell Uncle Calm that Mr. Phueng was currently in the countryside. The next day, Uncle Calm sent 2 men to where Mr. Phueng was to investigate him. These 2 men secretly broke into Mr. Phueng's house, but they were soon discovered by him. Mr. Phueng chased the 2 men with a gun, making them run away as fast as they could. The 2 men successfully escaped and reported to Uncle Calm about Mr. Phueng's location, that he was currently living on a farm. On the other side, Roy arrived at the company and saw the driver, Uncle Ed, there. It was clear that he was Thatha's personal driver, so why was he still here? Roy asked Uncle Ed, and he said that That had gone on a business trip by the sea, but she wanted Phum to drive her, so she didn't ask him. Hearing this, Roy felt a little suspicious about why the 2 of them had gone alone together like that. At the hotel, after That and Phum took a walk around the hotel, Phum told that she should keep the place because when he looked into her eyes, he could see that this place was very close to her. Before this, no one had been able to see her feelings clearly by looking into her eyes, which made That like him even more. She confided in him that this place was also her mother's final resting place, so she really didn't want to leave it. After chasing the 2 men away from his house, Mr. Phueng called his son to inform him, telling Phum to act carefully because someone had discovered his location. After hearing what his father said, Phum was able to figure out that it was likely the lawyer, Uncle Calm, who was looking for his father's place because he was the only one who suspected him. The 3 daughters, on the other hand, still completely thought that he was a good friend. At the beachfront hotel, That was watching Phum, shirtless, swimming in the water. Suddenly, Phum was standing behind That, helping her put on sunscreen. The 2 of them looked at each other intimately, but then someone called Thatha's name. It turned out to be Roy and Chiwi. Roy said she had come to relax, but actually, she had come to see what was going on between Phum and her sister. She was worried that a player like Phum would hurt her sister. Phum excused himself to go to his room. Roy also made an excuse to follow him, asking him why he was getting so close to her sister. Roy pulled him into a private room to ask him, but before she could say anything, she was silenced by his kiss. After a while, Roy managed to push him away, asking why he, as just Thatha's personal advisor, was acting so out of line. Phum didn't directly answer her question. Instead, he asked her if she was asking because she was jealous of her sister or if she was worried about her. It seemed as if this question had hit Roy's weak spot, so she didn't reply. Phum, taking advantage of the situation, whispered in her ear that his relationship with Ath was just business, but with Roy, he only thought about their feelings for each other. His honeyed words made Roy unconsciously giggle with embarrassment. She shyly pushed him away and left. Seeing that look on her face made Phum very satisfied. Another prey had fallen into his trap. At home, Mrs. Suk asked the maid where the three girls were. Phum only knew that Dath and Roy were working, but she didn't know where the youngest, Rin, had gone, that she had driven off somewhere by herself. Actually, Rin had gone to the beach where Dath and Phum were working. At the beach, she accidentally met Phum, and they had another chance to meet. Rin and Phum happily spent time together, and she even took the initiative to kiss him on the cheek. Phum didn't refuse it, as it was part of his plan. The two of them went to the beach to play together, and then returned to the hotel. In the hotel lobby, seeing Phum with her youngest sister, Dath asked why Rin had come, saying that this was a workplace. Rin explained to her sister that she had just come to play because she was bored at home alone, and that the hotel was also very big. Dath didn't blame her after hearing Rin's explanation, but she was secretly feeling very jealous. Later, Dath went to Phum's private room to talk to him. She was feeling very jealous that he had been with her younger sister, but outwardly, she acted as if nothing was wrong. She told him not to do that again, that if the hotel staff saw him with Rin, there could easily be unnecessary misunderstandings. Also, since he was her personal advisor, maintaining his reputation was even more important. Phum, seeing her behavior while she was telling him off, knew that she was very jealous. He used sweet words to coax her and make her feel better. He said that he treated Rin like a brother taking care of his younger sister, and that the person he truly wanted to be with was Dath. Hearing this made Datha's heart flutter. Phum was about to kiss her when the doorbell rang, breaking the sweet atmosphere between the two of them. It turned out to be Roy, who pretended that she had gone to the wrong room to interrupt the intimate moment between the two of them. Earlier, while walking down the hallway, she had accidentally seen Dath going into Phum's room, which was why she was worried that someone as charming as Phum might do something bad to her sister. Currently at the dining table, Dath was feeling very uncomfortable since Rin had become so close with Phum. Dath, feeling annoyed, scolded her younger sister. Rin couldn't take it anymore and angrily left. Phum, seeing the two sisters arguing, secretly smiled, knowing that his plan was succeeding once again. Roy followed Rin to look for her, but couldn't find her, so she called security to check the situation. On the other side, Rin sadly looked at the night view of the sea and began to cry. At that moment, Phum also came to comfort her. Phum comforted her and made her happy again, but it didn't last long before Dath caught them. The two sisters started arguing again. Seeing that the situation wasn't good, Roy took Rin away to avoid an argument. Now it was just Dath and Phum. She told him to meet her at the bar later. At the bar, Phum and Dath were drinking together. She told him that Rin was a pitiful child and that since their father had passed away, everyone in the family treated her like their father, but that Dath didn't want Phum to spoil Rin so much and become too close, as he was her personal advisor. Seeing that Dath was a little drunk, Phum intended to help her get back to her room, but at that moment, Roy appeared and took Dath away from Phum. Roy took her sister back to her room. While drunk, Dath kept thinking a man named Phum, which shocked Roy. She didn't expect that her sister also had feelings for Phum. The next day, Phum took Dath to a place by the sea to discuss work, but actually he wanted to take her there to relieve stress. Hearing Phum's reason made Datha's heart flutter again. In the distance, Roy also witnessed Phum and Dath happily spending time together. This made her suspicious of this man. Just the day before, he had said he had feelings for her, but now he was happily laughing with her sister. Thinking this, she immediately wanted to ask Uncle Kham about the previous relationship between her father and Phum's father. But Uncle Kham was currently on the road to Mr. Phueng's house with Mrs. Suk, so it wasn't convenient to talk to her. Uncle Kham told her that they would meet the next day to talk about it. On the other side, Uncle Kham and Mrs. Suk had arrived at Mr. Phueng's house, but they waited a long time and still didn't see him. The two of them had no choice but to return. But unfortunately, on the way back, a white car cut them off, and their car swerved and crashed into a tree on the side of the road. The white car quickly fled after causing the accident. The man in the white car was none other than Mr. Phueng's henchman. He had deliberately caused the accident to take revenge on the lawyer, Kham. At the hotel, Dath received a phone call from the hospital, informing her that Uncle Kham and Mrs. Suk had been in an accident in the countryside and were currently being transported to a Bangkok hospital. The three sisters, along with Phum, quickly went to the hospital. In Mrs. Suk's hospital room, Roy asked her what had happened. Mrs. Suk said that their car had been driving down the road when another car suddenly cut them off. Their car swerved and crashed into a tree, and from that point, she had lost consciousness and didn't know anything else. Fortunately, the injuries were not too severe and didn't affect her life. At this time, Phum asked Mrs. Suk if she and Uncle Kham had gone to the countryside because his father was living there. Mrs. Suk felt guilty when someone mentioned Mr. Phueng, so she pretended to have a headache and didn't want to answer. Since Dath was also suspicious that Mrs. Suk and Uncle Kham had gone to Mr. Phueng's place and Mrs. Suk wouldn't answer, she decided to go find Uncle Kham. After hearing Dath ask why they went to Bacho, Uncle Kham lied to her, saying that he and Mrs. Suk had gone to Bacho for work and that he had suddenly remembered that Mr. Phueng's house was in that area, so they had wanted to stop by. But when they got to his house, they had waited for an hour without seeing him. Dath loudly told Uncle Kham to stop investigating Mr. Phueng and to not let the past lawsuit between the two families affect the present. Roy stopped her sister from saying hurtful things to Uncle Kham. She told her that Uncle Kham was doing it for her own good because he was worried about her. After all, she was the head of the family and the chairman of a corporation. Dath remained firm and retorted that she was now an adult and that Uncle Kham doing things secretly behind her back was no different from violating her privacy. Dath also affirmed in front of Roy and Uncle Kham that she and Phum were getting to know each other, so she wanted everyone to respect him as her boyfriend and not try to dig up the past. Roy was stunned after hearing this. The next day, at the dining table, Dath officially announced to her two younger sisters that she was now in a relationship with Phum. Dath said that from the first time they met in the elevator, they had a connection, and from then on, Phum had started to pay more attention to Dath, saying sweet things to her and confessing his feelings. Dath also admitted that she had been won over by his sweet words and his subtle actions, and that she had agreed to be his girlfriend. The two younger sisters, Roy and Rin, weren't really happy when they heard their sister had publicly started dating Phum, because Phum had also flirted with them both, but in the end, he had chosen their older sister. But more than anyone else, Roy was the most disappointed. The man she had seen as a hero in her life, whom she had only had the chance to meet again for a short time, was now her older sister's boyfriend. At the Wanachat Corporation, in Matt's private office, her assistant and she were discussing the news about Dath and Phum publicly getting to know each other. But Matt wouldn't let Dath be happy with this. Love, because if she did, the company would easily fall into the hands of that man, Phum, and they would also be eliminated. Matt definitely wouldn't let this couple have peace. On the other side, Phum sent flowers to the three sisters. The older sister and the youngest sister were smiling nonstop when they received Phum's flowers. However, when Roy received her bouquet, she read the card and realized that it was from Phum. She immediately threw the flowers in the trash. Phum's sweet and honeyed words only worked on the older and younger sister, but not Roy. At Nat's gym, she and Phum were live streaming to promote the gym's new services. Nat watched the live stream and immediately thought of Dath. She immediately went to find Dath to provoke her. Sure enough, after watching the live stream and seeing Nat touching Phum's body, Dath couldn't take it. She immediately called him to ask what he was doing, but Phum only replied that he was busy and that he would call her back later. On the other side, Mr. Phueng and his two henchmen began to dispose of the white car that had caused the accident. Mr. Phueng recalled how his wife had been so shocked when she heard the news that their family was bankrupt that she had died. From that day on, he had made many plans to get revenge. At the hospital, Roy went to find Uncle Kham to learn more about the old feud between her father and Mr. Phueng. Uncle Kham recounted that in the past, Mr. Sowin and Mr. Phueng had collaborated in business, and because Mr. Phueng didn't have any capital, he had mortgaged a plot of land to Mr. Sowin to get investment funds. Initially, the two of them collaborated very happily, but unfortunately, the business failed so badly that it had to close down. So Mr. Phueng went to find Mr. Sowin to demand his land back, and it was from here that the two of them had a dispute. Although this dispute had been resolved by the court, with the victory belonging to Mr. Sowin, Mr. Phueng didn't accept it. From that moment on, he continued to go to Mr. Sowin to demand the land back through his own means. Therefore, as someone who had been with Mr. Sowin through that dispute, Uncle Kham understood Mr. Phueng very well, and that was why he was so wary of his son, that man, Phum. Suddenly, After more than 20 years, he had come back and was getting close to all three of the sisters. If it wasn't for the old feud, what else could it be? After hearing the story that Uncle Phum had told her, Roy understood a little about Phum's true colors. She would work with Uncle Phum to keep an eye on Phum so that he wouldn't be able to achieve his goal of taking over Wanachat. On the other side, after seeing the live stream of Nat and Phum having dinner together, Dath went directly to the restaurant to find him. Dath didn't hesitate to publicly announce on the live stream that she and Phum were dating. Roy, watching the live stream and seeing her sister fighting over a man on live video, immediately got in her car to stop them. On the way, Roy urgently called Phum, asking him to quickly get her sister out of there. She didn't want her sister to be given a bad reputation because of a man like him. At this point, at Phum's location, Karan suddenly rushed in and attacked him for having dinner alone. With Nat, the two of them were fighting back and forth when they suddenly stopped at the sound of Nat's scream. At the table, Dath and Nat were talking to each other. These two women had never liked each other, and now they were fighting over the man named Phum. They hadn't been talking for long when they began fighting. Nat was quickly hit with a plate of noodles right on her head. She screamed in humiliation like a crazy woman. Phum and Karan came to where the two women were, and everything stopped. Dath took Phum's hand and left, ignoring the heavy rain. Dath once again affirmed that from this day on, Phum was her man. The two of them shared a sweet kiss in the rain, unaware that Roy was watching everything from the other side. Disappointed, Roy turned and went home. Later, Phum took Dath home, and he also stayed the night at her house. Dath asked the maid to prepare dinner, and Rin volunteered to make dinner for the whole family. On the other side, Roy, after returning home, took a shower and got ready to go downstairs for dinner when she discovered that there was someone inside the guest room. Curious, she went into the room, and at that moment, Phum, just finished showering, came out. She was about to leave, but he insisted on keeping her there. He kept explaining to her that he loved her very much, but that she didn't feel the same, and that she kept throwing his love away like trash. Roy retorted with a firm attitude that she hated him and that he was no different from a villain. He had said that he had feelings for her, but he was dating her sister. What did he really want? As she struggled to break free from his embrace and was about to leave, the maid knocked on the door to bring clothes for Phum to change into. Under Roy's challenge, Phum didn't hesitate to change his clothes in front of her. Embarrassed, Roy turned away, and as she was about to leave, Phum pulled her back and forced a kiss on her. Roy tried to push him away, but it was pointless. After the kiss, Roy slapped him, calling him vile. At that moment, Dath came to Roy's room after the maid had told her that Roy had also come home earlier, soaking wet from head to toe, but that she hadn't had dinner and had said that she was going to bed. Worried about her sister, Dath went to her room to check on her. Roy told her sister that she was okay and that she was just having trouble sleeping, so she had gone out for a bit. On the other side, Rin called the maid to ask why the food she had prepared earlier hadn't been brought to the dining table. The maid told her that everything was ready and that Dath had asked her to bring the food to the spare room to enjoy with Phum. Curious, Rin went to the spare room and saw her sister happily having dinner with Phum. At the dining table, Phum kept affirming his love for Dath, and he didn't hesitate to give her a sweet kiss. Rin witnessed all of these intimate moments and felt extremely jealous of her older sister. After dinner, Phum and Dath went into an empty room in the house. Phum locked the door, but deliberately left a gap so that someone could see inside. Dath's purpose for bringing him to this room was to invite him to stay there. After all, her house had many spare rooms, and she really wanted to be close to him as her boyfriend. Phum moved in to kiss her, and the two of them lay down on the bed together. Rin, standing outside, witnessed that intimate scene and was so shocked that she couldn't believe her eyes. She couldn't believe that her older sister, who hadn't been interested in any man for so many years, could so easily sleep with Phum like that. On the other side, after Roy received Phum's house keys from the maid, who said that he had forgotten them in the clothes he had sent to be washed, Roy decided to go to Phum's house to investigate what kind of man he really was. Roy asked Chiwi to go with her. When they got to Phum's house, Roy broke into his room, while Chiwi waited outside for her. At Phum's place, the maid asked him if he had received the keys that Roy had given him, and it was then that he remembered that he had left the keys in his pants pocket. But he hadn't seen Roy since then to get the keys. Phum went to his room to see if she had left them there, but after searching everywhere, he couldn't find them. He decided to go back to his house. At Dath's house, she didn't see Phum, so she asked the maid. The maid said that perhaps Phum had gone to get his room keys from Roy since she had given Roy the keys earlier, but that Roy was not home at the moment. Beth quickly went to Phum's house to see what her younger sister was up to now. At Phum's house, Roy was searching his room to see if he was hiding any other women in there. She hadn't been in the room for long when she was attacked from behind. Roy used all her strength to push the person away, and she quickly escaped and ran away. But at this time, Phum had also arrived, and he stopped her from running any further. Seeing the two of them struggling, Chiwi went in to defend Roy, and the two men began fighting again. Roy separated the two of them. At this point, Roy was calm enough to talk to Phum and the person who had grabbed her from. Behind was none other than Mr. Phum. Roy realized that she had been wrong to secretly break into his house and then hit his father a few times to escape. That arrived from outside and broke up the fight. That apologized to Mr. Phum. She explained that perhaps her younger sister was too worried about her, so she had chosen to go to Phum's house to investigate. That sincerely apologized to Mr. Phum. She also invited him to her house for a meal to apologize and to introduce the two sides to each other. After resolving the issue, Beth changed from a gentle attitude to an angry one and glared at her younger sister. Back at the house, Beth and Roy started arguing loudly. Beth told Roy that this was a private matter between her and Phum, and that it was none of Roy's business to investigate. She said that it was her man and that she knew how to handle it. Furthermore, Beth had decided to have Phum move in with her and that he would stay in the small house. Hearing this, Roy immediately disagreed. The man had only been dating Beth for a few days and she had already decided to have him move in with her. After all, this was the house that their father had left to the three sisters, so Beth couldn't make the decision on her own. At this point, the youngest sister, Rin, who had been listening to their entire conversation, would be the final vote in deciding whether or not to let Phum move in. It seemed as though Rin would disagree, but she completely sided with that this time. Rin's reason was that the small house was empty and that having one more person would be more lively. On Phum's side, he was confiding in his father that he would soon be moving into Thatha's house at her request. He admitted that his purpose for getting close to all three girls was solely to get revenge for his father's old feud, and he had no good intentions at all. He wanted to take over Wanachat and for the three sisters' family to be destroyed just like his family had suffered 20 years ago. Although he said he was getting revenge, he couldn't deny that out of the three girls, he truly liked Roy. Mr. Phueng also saw this, and he reminded him that he should only stop at liking her and that he shouldn't fall in love. The next day at the company, Uncle Calm received a phone call from Mrs. Suk. She said that That had invited Mr. Phueng to her house for a meal, and that That had also invited Phum to stay at the small house. After hearing this, Uncle Calm didn't believe that the relationship between That and Phum had progressed so quickly. He decided to go to her house with Mrs. Suk and Roy to see what was going on. Today, That had taken a special day off to hire workers to fix up the small house to welcome Phum there. On the other side, Rin was walking around when she saw Phum's car arriving. She happily went out to greet Phum and his father. At this point, she realized that the two of them had come to have lunch and that That hadn't told her anything about it. Rin went to the kitchen to prepare food, unaware that That had already ordered all the food from outside. That didn't want anyone in the house to sit down and eat with her and Phum, so that she would have more private time. At the table, the three of them ate and chatted happily. That asked Mr. Phueng for permission for Phum to move into her house so that they would have more time to be together and get to know each other better. Mr. Phueng completely agreed to his son staying there because that would make his plan to destroy the three sisters easier to carry out. At this time, Rin came in with the food that she had prepared. Seeing her youngest sister appear, That wasn't happy at all. She pulled Rin out to question her for ruining her private time. The two sisters started arguing again. Rin still didn't understand why her sister was always upset every time she came face to face with Phum. In the past, when Rin was in love with a chef and she had brought him home, she was constantly forbidden by her sister and forced to break up with him because the man was already married and that someone like him wasn't worthy of their family. That had always said that Rin's love was foolish. Rin was annoyed that her sister had called her foolish, and she didn't hesitate to retort that even though she was foolish, she wouldn't be as easy as her sister when she had just met Phum for a few days and had already slept with him. That angrily slapped her younger sister. That had never hit her younger sister before, but now, because of that man, Phum, she had lost control. On the other side, Roy, along with Mrs. Suk and Uncle Calm, came home and saw Mr. Phueng and Phum there. They discussed the issue of Phum preparing to move in, And since these three didn't have much fondness for Phum, they naturally didn't agree to let Phum move in. Mrs. Suk told Mr. Phueng that his son had only known that for a few days and was already moving in, and asked if he didn't find it strange. Mr. Phueng and Phum were speechless, not knowing what to say when Thatha's family wouldn't let him stay there. Suddenly, they heard Rin scream, and everyone's attention turned to her. Seeing Rin crying and leaving, Thath didn't care. The only thing she cared about now was Mr. Phueng and Phum. Thath told the two men that they could continue eating, but Mr. Phueng declined and asked to leave, saying that he had suffered a great shock from Thatha's family. Actually, he and Phum were deliberately acting out a play, pretending to be pitiful in front of Thath so that she would have conflicts with her own family. Seeing this, Thath apologized to Mr. Phueng. She also promised that she would resolve the family issues so that he and Phum wouldn't have to feel pressured. From the moment she saw her younger sister crying, Roy felt heartbroken. Her youngest sister and older sister had been arguing a lot ever since Phum had appeared. Roy went to her room to comfort her, and she gently asked her what had happened between her and her older sister. Roy was shocked when her younger sister told her that Thath had hit her, since Thath had never behaved like that before. Roy asked her younger sister if it was because of that man, Phum, that Thath had hit her. Rin remained silent, which made Roy believe that it was true. Therefore, Roy decided to go find Phum to ask him directly. On the other side, Thath saw Mr. Phueng off while Phum stayed behind to look at the house that she had fixed up specifically for him. At this time, Mrs. Suk also appeared. She heard that Phum would be staying there, so she protested once again, but Thath stopped her. She told her that no one in the house could decide where Phum stayed except for her. Thath told Phum to go to the small house to wait for her while she resolved some family matters. Currently, Mrs. Suk and Uncle Kham were still advising Thath not to let Phum move into the small house. The two of them had tried everything, but Thath still wouldn't budge. She was still determined to let Phum stay there, because Rin had also agreed to it. She told them not to live in the past and think badly of Phum. Doing so, she said, was violating her privacy. Uncle Kham patiently explained to her that his actions were out of concern for her future and the future of the Wanachat Corporation. Furthermore, he said that taking care of her and her two younger sisters was his responsibility and duty, because when Mr. Sowin had passed away, he had left a will that included a clause about Uncle Kham's responsibility for taking care of his three daughters. Uncle Kham told that she couldn't be sure that Phum had come here for revenge. He wanted to tell her about the cruelty of the land dispute between the two families, to the point where Mr. Phueng had even threatened to kill her father. But Thath didn't want to hear it. She told Uncle Kham to stop adding fuel to the fire and to stop trying to break up her relationship with Phum. On the other side, Roy went to the small house to talk to Phum. As soon as he saw her, he hugged her from behind. Roy struggled to push him away. She told him that he had interfered in the lives of her three sisters too much, and that all the continuous arguments were also because of him. Roy told him to quickly leave this place. Phum remained silent and then went upstairs. Roy followed him. It turned out that he had deliberately lured her up there. Roy was still determined to kick him out, but he stubbornly held her hand. Phum asked her why. Time after time, her family suspected that he was a bad guy, while only Thath accepted him. He said that the person who should have accepted him should have been Roy. Roy was the first person to know about him, and she was the first person he had given his feelings to, but time after time, she had avoided it. This time was no exception. So, what was wrong with him loving Thath? Why was she preventing their relationship? Or was she just jealous of her sister? It seemed that these words had struck a chord with Roy. She just listened to him silently. Phum moved closer to her lips and gave her a kiss. Roy didn't know how to react when she was standing before someone who was her sister's boyfriend and the man she liked. Downstairs, Thath was looking for him, calling out Phum's name repeatedly, but he didn't answer. She went upstairs and opened the door, but she found that he had locked it. Inside, Roy heard her sister's voice outside the door and immediately pushed Phum away. Phum told Roy that if she wanted Thath to kick him out of the house, then she should let her hate him and open the door so that Thath would know what a bad guy he was. But Roy didn't dare let her sister catch her with the man she loved alone in his room. She immediately hid, and Phum opened the door for Thath. Annoyed, Thath asked him why he hadn't opened the door for her when she had called for so long, and why he had locked the door. Phum lied to sweet-talk her, and then gave her a kiss to make her less suspicious. At that moment, Roy went outside, so Thath didn't realize that she was there. Roy walked away, feeling hopeless and heartbroken as she watched Phum kiss her sister. The next day, Roy went to the company and ran into Phum there. She tried to avoid him, but he pulled her into a secluded corner and forcibly kissed her. Roy didn't hesitate to push him away and slap him, calling him disgusting. As soon as Roy left, Dath saw them. Seeing their secret behavior, Dath was extremely jealous. Dath asked what had happened, but neither of them answered. Angrily, Roy left. Dath told Roy to go to her private office to talk. Dath warned her not to touch Phum again, including the old land dispute between the two families, as well as the close relationship between Phum and Roy. After saying this, Dath left to find Phum. Outside, Chiwi was walking around when he was attacked by thugs who demanded money. They beat him badly, but luckily, Phum came and rescued him. Phum was even more generous and gave him money to pay off the thugs. In return, Phum wanted him to send a message that he would no longer be working at Wanachat. Later, Chiwi informed the chairman that Phum had asked him to tell her that he would no longer be working there. After hearing that he had quit his job, Dath repeatedly called him, but he didn't answer. Roy also received information that Phum had resigned. Roy went to her sister's office to ask why he had quit his job, but when she got there, all she heard was her sister scolding her. She said that because Roy, along with Uncle Kham and Mrs. Suk, had constantly put pressure on him, always thinking that he had bad intentions when he had gotten close to Dath, that was why he had quit his job. Roy didn't understand her sister's logic and why she blamed it all on her. It was clear that everyone wanted her to stay away from the bad guy, but now Dath was saying that Roy was the bad guy for constantly interfering in her relationship. At home, Rin was baking when she received a phone call from Phum. He asked her with concern why she had cried so much the night before, and if it was because of him. Rin replied that it was only because Dath was jealous of her when she was near Phum, so she had yelled at her. At this point, Phum hinted at the fact that he would no longer be staying at the small house, but he didn't explain to Rin what the reason was, so she felt very curious. Rin decided to go to his house. She also brought him some sweets. The two of them were being affectionate by the pool, and Rin even fed him. On the other side, Roy saw something familiar in a photo that Rin had just posted. After looking at it for a while, she remembered that it was Phum's house. What was her younger sister doing there? Roy repeatedly called Rin, but she didn't answer. Feeling very worried, she immediately drove to Phum's house. In Natha's room, her assistant told her that she had found the house that Phum was renting, and so she proceeded to buy that house from its owner. At this time, Roy arrived at Phum's house and saw her younger sister there. She was furious. Roy blamed Phum for luring her younger sister there. Her younger sister, Rin, explained to her that she had gone there on her own, and that Phum hadn't lured her or anything. Roy told her younger sister to go outside, so that she could talk to Phum. Annoyed, Roy told Phum to stay away from her family, saying that he had already deceived Dath, and that now he wasn't even sparing her younger sister. Phum replied that he had never done anything wrong, and that Roy was constantly blaming him. He asked her what he had done wrong in her eyes. He moved closer to her, asking if he had been wrong to make her fall in love with him, and that now she was jealous of her older sister, and trying to make her hate him. Roy pushed him away, affirming that she didn't love him, and that the two of them had no relationship. She said that their love had been purely coincidental. After saying that, she left. Rin, who was outside, kept trying to explain that she had gone there on her own, not because of Phum. While trying to explain, she didn't notice the potted plant at her feet, so she tripped over it and fell. Worried about her younger sister, Roy ran over to check her injuries. Roy told her to go home with her so that she could treat her wounds, but when Rin heard Phum say to go inside his house to bandage it, Rin also wanted to stay there. Roy felt helpless and didn't know what to do with her younger sister. Therefore, she reluctantly agreed to treat her wound there. Roy and Rin went into the bathroom to wash the wound while Phum went downstairs to find the first aid kit. At home, Uncle Kham and his wife informed Mrs. Suk that Phum had resigned from the Wanachat Corporation. Upon hearing this news, Mrs. Suk was extremely happy because all the worries about Phum taking over the corporation by getting close to Dath were gone. She was even thinking about celebrating. At Phum's house, while he was looking for the first aid kit to bring to Rin, Dath suddenly appeared in the living room. Phum was very shocked and didn't understand how Dath could have gotten in. Dath told him that from now on, she was the owner of this house because she had just bought it an hour ago. The reason why Dath had bought this house so quickly was so that Phum could move to her small house, so they would be closer to each other. Furthermore, Dath told him not to resign from the corporation because of the gossip around him. She said that she would be his support. Dath's enthusiasm made it impossible for Phum to refuse. On the other side, Roy and Rin, seeing the intimate scene between the two of them, felt heartbroken but were also helpless. The two of them quickly went outside. At this point, Rin told Roy that she would never be able to stop Bath from letting Phum move into the small house because their relationship had already gone too far and that they had even slept together. Hearing this news, Roy was extremely shocked. She didn't think that things had progressed so quickly. At home, Mrs. Suk, along with Uncle Calm and his wife, were celebrating Phum's resignation from the corporation when the three of them froze for 5 seconds when Phum appeared there. Right after Phum, Bath came in and announced that from now on, Phum would be living there as a member of the family and that everyone in the house had to respect him. If not, Bath wouldn't hesitate to scold them. Mrs. Suk was angry, but couldn't do anything about it. Phum picked Bath up like a princess and carried her into the small house. Phum said that this was like he was practicing carrying her into their wedding chamber. Hearing this, Bath was extremely happy because it proved that Phum had long-term intentions for this relationship and that he wanted a future with her. His words made her feel like the money in her account was worthless. That money didn't make her as happy as the words, "our future." In his head, Phum thought that this woman was too easy. With just a few sweet lies, he was able to get her to give away her assets so easily. He didn't have any feelings for her. He was just trying to make her have feelings for him. Phum moved in to give her a kiss, but Rin ruined that sweet atmosphere. At that moment, Roy also appeared there. Bath sighed in annoyance for having her intimate moment ruined by her two younger sisters. Bath told her younger sister to follow her so that they could talk privately. Chiwi stayed behind to help Phum move his personal belongings. Chiwi had been pursuing Roy for so many years, so seeing the way that Phum treated Roy, he could understand that Phum had feelings for Roy. Chiwi warned Phum to stay away from Roy and to not bother her anymore, because after all, Phum was now Bath's boyfriend. Phum provoked Chiwi and said that the relationship between Chiwi and Roy was only that of friends, and that Roy had feelings for him, not Chiwi. Chiwi, angry, rushed in to attack Phum, and Phum didn't stay still and fought back. The two of them were fighting fiercely. On the other side, Bath told her two younger sisters not to come to the small house so casually anymore, and that they should respect Phum's privacy when he was there. Rin was jealous, not understanding why her older sister was so dictatorial. In the past, when she had been in love, her sister had insisted that she break up with him, but now that she had a boyfriend, she was forbidding her from getting close to him. Roy was more worried about her sister than jealous of her. She was afraid that from now on, when Phum moved in, he might harm their family. But she couldn't stop her older sister. Bath was very dictatorial and abused her power, and no one could change her. It was an undeniable fact that Bath had been blinded by love. Since Phum had appeared, she hadn't cared about the feelings of her two younger sisters, and they had even been arguing frequently. Suddenly, at this point, the three of them heard a noise. They went upstairs to see what had happened between the two men. At this point, Chiwi and Phum had stopped fighting. They pretended that they had just fallen while they were moving things. Roy took Chiwi's hand and left. She asked him with concern if he was okay, because she had seen what had happened between the two men. Chiwi said that he was fine, and that she didn't need to worry about him. On the other side, Phum and Bath called his father to tell him that he had moved into the small house. Mr. Phum was happy to see his son happy with his girlfriend, and he hinted to him that he shouldn't just sit still at their house. Of course, only Phum understood the true meaning of his words. Bath simply thought that it was a father's advice to his son. On the other side, Mrs. Suk was telling everyone that she couldn't just stand by and watch her niece be deceived, so she would do everything she could to make Phum and Bath break up. She told Roy to work with her to do this, but Roy refused because she didn't want to be cruel and do bad things. But Roy still had her own way of protecting her sister. Rin, standing outside, overheard all of Mrs. Suk's conversation. She secretly thought that she would also find a way to break up that couple. On Phum's side, he was remembering his father's instructions. It turned out that his reason for moving into this house was also for his own purposes. His father wanted him to find evidence about the old lawsuit between the two families to show the three girls how vile Mr. Sowen had been. Mr. Phum wanted to see Thatha's family destroyed. The next morning, Roy was out jogging when she noticed a pervert filming her secretly. She approached him and told him to hand over his phone, but he stubbornly denied it. So the two of them got into an argument and the guy even pushed her down. At that moment, Phum appeared and rescued Roy. He beat the pervert up, scaring him away. Seeing the wound on Roy's leg, he worriedly wanted to check it, but Roy refused him. At home, Dath asked the maid where Phum had gone and learned that he had gone out for a jog. Remembering that she had also seen her younger sister wearing workout clothes that morning, Dath immediately went to get her car to find him. She suspected that there was something going on between the two of them. On the other side, Roy told Phum to leave her family alone and to break up with Dath because she didn't want her sister to be hurt by a scoundrel like him. Phum told her that if she wanted him to break up with her sister, that was fine, but that she should agree to marry him. Roy, hearing his nonsense, naturally didn't agree, and she pushed him away. At that moment, Phum saw that Dath was behind them, so he began to act, telling Roy that he would never break up with Dath because he had decided to marry her and build a home with her. Hearing Phum say this made Dath feel very good, and she went over and hugged his arm, thanking him. Dath told him to go home with her for lunch. Helpless, Roy watched the two of them leave. When Dath and Phum got home, she saw that the living room in the small house was very messy. She asked him why it was like that. Phum only replied that he remembered putting all the clothes in the hamper when he left. Dath asked the two maids, and they also said that they had cleaned the small house very thoroughly before leaving it. In reality, the clothes that were scattered all over the living room where Phum was staying were done by Mrs. Suk. She knew that a neat person like Dath would have a hard time accepting a partner who was messy and dirty, so she had come up with a way to make the place where Phum was staying messy. Sure enough, as soon as Dath saw it, she showed her discomfort. On the other side, the youngest sister, Rin, was preparing a cake as a gift for Phum, welcoming him to the small house. She also didn't forget to prepare some wine for the two of them. Because he had just come back from a jog and smelled a bit sweaty, Phum asked to go take a shower. When he came down, he was carrying a jewelry box as a gift for Rin. She opened it, and it was a bracelet with a teardrop charm. Rin really liked the bracelet, and she smiled widely, thanking him. Phum breathed a sigh of relief, because he had given her a gift that she liked. He even complimented her, saying that she was like the bracelet, sweet and lovely. Rin kept smiling because of his sweet words, and she proactively kissed him deeply. So, the younger sister had fallen into the trap of that man, Phum. Later, Phum went to the main house to have dinner with Dath. He also gave her a necklace with a teardrop charm that was exactly the same as Rin's. He put the necklace on Dath and didn't forget to give her a kiss. At this moment, Roy came downstairs to get water and accidentally saw a scene that she shouldn't have seen, but she acted like nothing was wrong and went to get her water. Dath clearly showed her discomfort because her younger sister didn't respect her privacy. That night, while Phum was sleeping, there was a knock on the door. He opened it, and it was Roy. She said that she missed him and had come to see him, and the two of them spent a hot and passionate night together. Startled, Phum woke up and realized that the moment just now had only been a dream. Perhaps he missed Roy too much. The next morning, at the dining table, all three sisters and Phum were there. Dath announced that she would be holding a wedding with Phum soon. Roy was extremely surprised. She asked her why she had decided to get married to someone she had only been dating for a few days. The two sisters had another argument. Dath said that her younger sister was trying to teach her a lesson, and that even if her love for Phum was only for a day, if she liked it, she could still get married, and that no one could stop her. She was truly a dictatorial woman. At the company, specifically in Dath's room, she was looking at wedding venues, while Phum was sitting. They're looking at the investment plan for the upcoming year. Phum showed Dath some potential foreign companies that they could invest in for the upcoming year, and then he excused himself. The reason he went outside was that he went into Roy's room, the woman he truly loved. He was looking at a photo on Roy's shelf when she walked in. He was also holding some jewelry in his hand at this moment, and when he saw her, he immediately hid it behind his back. Roy was curious and didn't know what it was, but he kept hiding it. Annoyed, she kicked him in his sensitive area and finally got the item from him. Realizing that it was just a gift that Phum intended to give to her, she threw it away and asked him what right he had to give her gifts like that. Suddenly, Roy's phone rang. It turned out that it was Chiwi, who was calling her to ask her out to dinner. Roy deliberately answered the phone in front of Phum to make him jealous of Chiwi. Phum, feeling dejected, walked outside and met Matt, who had been standing there all along. She sneered at him, saying that he had been in the older sister's room that morning, and then in the younger sister's room by lunchtime, asking if he was planning on having both sisters. Phum turned around and threatened her, saying that if she didn't shut her mouth, tomorrow would be her last day at the company. Angrily, Matt had no choice but to shut up and leave. At a coffee shop, Mrs. Suk met with Matt and wanted to propose a collaboration to break up the lovers, Phum and Dath. Matt, of course, agreed to this with Mrs. Suk, as she also didn't want to be kicked out of the Wanachat Corporation someday. That evening, in Roy's room, she was getting ready for the party that night when Phum came in from behind and helped her put on her bracelet. Roy thought that it was Chiwi and thanked him, but when she turned around, she realized that it was Phum. Roy completely changed her attitude and scolded Phum for being so bad as to enter her room without permission. Phum still tried to calm her down, but he couldn't. At this point, his actions toward her also became forceful. Luckily, Chiwi appeared at that moment and rescued Roy. The two of them quickly left, while Phum watched them jealously. Later, Phum went to a bar to drown his sorrows. Sitting there, he recalled the painful memories of the past that he had witnessed, and his hatred grew stronger. At this moment, Phum received a phone call from the youngest sister, Rin. She was asking him where he was, and she wanted to come and join him. At Chiwi's place, he expressed his desire to date Roy, but she felt that it was too fast. But Chiwi wasn't sad at all. He accepted that he would wait for her when she was ready to date. At the bar, Rin had found Phum at his table. They talked together. Seeing that Phum looked sad, she asked him if it was because the marriage with Ath was happening too fast and that he hadn't had time to adapt to it. Phum still acted as if he was very sad, and he admitted that he wasn't ready for the marriage because he still felt regret for a love that was right in front of him. He said sweet and honeyed words that completely intoxicated Rin. Because of her heart, Rin threw away all of her reasons. She was no longer conscious enough to realize that Phum was her sister's boyfriend. Love had made Rin do immoral things, and hatred had made Phum lose the value of love. Rin was willing to give her virginity to the man who was about to become her brother-in-law. At home, Roy was calling Rin, while Dath was calling Phum. The two of them were trying to contact the other person, but they didn't receive a reply. They couldn't imagine that the two people they were trying to contact were together, lost in passion. After their lovemaking, Phum and Rin talked to each other. Rin, who was naturally naive and childish, wanted this relationship to be public. She wanted to show that Phum loved her. Phum suddenly loudly said no, which unintentionally hurt Rin. She teared up and left the bed. Realizing that he had been wrong, Phum went over to Rin and hugged her from behind, sweet-talking her that he truly loved her, but that it wasn't the right time to make things public. He said that when the right time came, he would be the one to take the initiative to make their relationship public, and that he would definitely not let her suffer. Hearing Phum's lies, Rin believed him. Indeed, she was still naive. She believed whatever people promised her. Phum and Rin went home together. He only dared to take her to the gate, and then let her go into the main house herself, while he went back to the small house. Phum also told her to pretend that they had no relationship in front of everyone in the house. Rin went into the main house, and when Roy saw that her younger sister was home, she eagerly asked her with concern why she was so late and why she didn't answer her phone. Annoyed, Rin said that she was already grown up and that she wasn't a toddler that Roy needed to control so much, and that she also needed her own private time. Roy realized that she had perhaps been too strict with her, so she apologized to her. The two sisters quickly made up as if there had never been any argument. Roy intended to sleep with Rin that night because normally her younger sister really liked to sleep with her, but Rin said that she wanted to sleep alone that night. Roy respected her and then quickly returned to her room. On the other side, Dath was in the small house, waiting for Phum to return. Seeing that he seemed to be very drunk, she helped him onto the bed. She was talking and confiding in him when she realized that he had fallen asleep a while ago. She helped him take off his shirt and covered him with a blanket to help him sleep better. But as soon as she left, Phum woke up. Actually, he had been sober for a long time. He had deliberately pretended to be drunk so that he wouldn't have to be interrogated by Dath. The next morning, Roy was exercising when she saw that Phum had been behind her for a while. She still showed her discomfort with him ever since he had stepped into this house. Phum still wanted to get closer to her, but she refused. While the two of them were struggling, Roy accidentally tripped on a rock under her foot. Phum gently helped her up and into the house, but she completely avoided his touch. She didn't want to have any more connection with this man. Roy was still trying to control her emotions so that she wouldn't think about Phum. On the other side, Mrs. Suk received information that Phum had been with another girl the night before. Matt showed her the evidence. The photo showed Phum and Nat being affectionate with each other. But the truth was that the night before, when Phum had met Nat, he had deliberately avoided her, but she had still called him back and invited him to her friend's 5-year anniversary celebration. Phum took it and then quickly left. Mrs. Suk didn't know the story behind the photo, and she only knew that he was being intimate with another woman who wasn't Thath. She deliberately sent it to Thath to break up their relationship. At the small house, Phum told Thath that he had an important party that day, so he wouldn't be going to the company. As soon as the two of them said goodbye, Thath received a photo message from Mrs. Suk. The photo had successfully made her jealous. Reading the information about the party, Thath quickly told her secretary to cancel all her meetings for the day so that she could go and confront the other woman. At the party, Rin was about to go to where Phum was sitting when Nat beat her to it. She had no choice but to watch him from behind. At this moment, Phum noticed that she was there, and he gestured for her to go somewhere else so that they could talk. Phum wasn't happy that she had appeared there, as it would expose their relationship to the media, but Rin wanted to take this opportunity to publicly announce her love for him. Phum manipulated her, saying that she didn't understand him, and that he was trying to build a beautiful love between the two of them, and that he didn't want the media to know about it and ruin it, and then think badly of her. Phum successfully made Rin trust him. That would make it easier to hide their wrong relationship, since she completely trusted him. At the party venue, Thath had arrived. She went straight to confront Nat, and didn't hesitate to throw wine on her. Nat didn't give up and slapped her, and the two of them started fighting. The reporters all around them were busy taking photos. Luckily, Roy appeared at this moment and separated the two of them. Phum, hearing the commotion, immediately went out to see what was happening. Seeing that Roy had been pushed and had fallen, he went to help her up. Phum, seeing that Thath was also there, guessed that she had come there to confront Nat. He apologized and asked for everything to end there. Nat, angry and unable to do anything to Thath, screamed and left. Thath took Phum's arm and called the reporters to come with her to get out of this chaotic mess. It turned out that Thath wanted to use this opportunity to tell the media that she and Phum were currently in love and that they would be getting married soon. Phum and Thath happily posed for the cameras. On the other side, Roy and Rin were heartbroken. Rin was even more shocked. Rin had given her virginity to Phum, and he had also promised her that he would build their love together. But now, her older sister was announcing that she was getting married to him. Rin kept saying no, and that she didn't agree to the wedding, and then she left. Roy tried to ask Rin, but she didn't answer. On the other side, Mrs. Suk and Matt also watched the video of the couple's wedding announcement. The two of them were extremely shocked because after the photo, it didn't break Thath and Phum's relationship. Instead, it had made their relationship go even further. At the dining table at home, Roy and her two best friends were there, and they were all gossiping. Lucknoam said that he had seen Rin go to find Phum today, and that the two of them had disappeared together, and that he didn't know if something shady had happened between them. Roy also remembered that when Nath had announced her wedding with Phum, Rin's emotions had been very unstable. Roy left the table and quickly went home to talk to Phum to get some answers. On the other side, Thath and Phum walked into the house hand in hand. Thath's emotions changed 180 degrees when she saw Matt there. Mrs. Suk spoke up to defend Matt, saying that Matt and Phum were not different from each other, and that they were all employees of the chairman, so why was Thath so upset with Matt? Thath said that Matt and Phum were not the same. Phum was her boyfriend and her soon-to-be husband, while Matt was just her father's mistress. Mrs. Suk opposed Thath's marriage. She didn't agree that she should marry the son of an enemy because, after all, she had raised Thath since she was little, and she had taken care of her from the smallest things, so she had the right to interfere in her life. Not giving Mrs. Suk any face, Thath retorted that this was her life and that she had the right to choose. She wanted to marry him, and if Mrs. Suk kept trying to stop them, then she would cut off her relationship with her. At this point, Thath told Phum to go to the small house, and that she would handle her family matters. Phum went back to the small house and saw that Rin had been waiting for him. Her eyes were filled with tears. Rin lost control and started hitting him, asking why he had treated her so badly. She said that he had clearly said that he wanted to date her, so why was he publicly getting married to her sister? Rin wanted to go find Thath to tell her that she and Phum were in love. Phum tried to keep her there. He couldn't let Thath know about this, or everything would be ruined. Rin was too shocked at this point, and she fainted. Outside, Roy arrived at Phum's place. He quickly hid Rin in a corner so that no one could see her, and then changed his attitude, becoming cheerful to welcome Roy. Roy asked him why her younger sister, Rin, had been at the party that day, since she wasn't someone who liked partying when she wasn't with people she knew. Phum lied, saying that he hadn't asked Rin to come, and that their meeting had just been a coincidence. He said that he didn't know why Rin had been there. Suddenly, at this moment, Rin slowly woke up. She could hear what Phum was saying, and she called out his name. Roy heard someone's voice, and she was about to go in to check, but at this moment, the maid came and called her, telling her that Thath and Mrs. Suk were arguing at the main house. Roy's concern was no longer about that voice, but about the argument. Both Mrs. Suk and Matt spoke up in opposition. The two of them said that Phum was just taking advantage of Thath to take her assets, but she was as blind as a bat and was running headfirst into a scoundrel like him. They said that her mind was messed up with love, that she couldn't tell right from wrong anymore. Hearing the insults about Phum, Thatha's eyes turned red with anger. She wanted to go and beat the two of them. She said that it was Mrs. Suk who was foolish and that she was stuck in the past conflict and that she was using it as an excuse to stop her love. She said that no one would care about that past and that Phum was also like that. Thath firmly stated that she and Phum would get married and that no one could stop them. On the other side, Phum soothed Rin's anger. He told her to calm down so that he could handle it, but Rin still wanted to go find Thath. He forced her down on top of him, and he threatened Rin that if she continued to act like that, then he wouldn't be with her anymore. As soon as she heard that she would have to leave him, Rin immediately became obedient, like a puppy. She followed all his decisions, only hoping that he would always be by her side, and that he wouldn't leave her. So once again, Phum had successfully manipulated her. The two of them made love again. After experiencing the best moment together, the two of them lay in each other's arms, talking. Rin promised that she wouldn't do anything against Phum's wishes anymore, and that she would let him decide everything. She also said that as for the matter of him and Thath getting married, she would pretend like it was nothing, and that she and he would still be together. On the other side, Roy pulled Thath out of the argument. She advised her sister that she should put off the wedding for later, and that she should use this time to get to know him better because they couldn't know yet if Phum truly loved her or if he only wanted revenge. Of course, Thath opposed this idea. Thath said that she had never been able to do the things that she liked like Roy had, and that she had had to give up going abroad to study and give up her passion for playing the piano to focus on inheriting her father's company. Therefore, she hoped that this time, she could do what she wanted and marry the man she loved. Hearing this, Roy also understood that perhaps she had been too selfish and hadn't thought about her sister's feelings. This time, she would bless her sister and Phum. The next day, Roy drove out of the city alone. She went to the place where she and Phum had first met. Her purpose for going there today was to return the memories that she wanted to forget, the beautiful moments with Phum. She just wanted to throw them all away so that she could move on, because now, the two of them couldn't have a future together anymore. He would become her sister's husband and her brother-in-law. While she was walking along the beach, she noticed that a stranger was stealing her bag from a distance. She quickly went over to catch him, but she wasn't strong enough to fight that man. The stranger used a tranquilizer to knock her unconscious. On the other side, Roy's friends tried to contact her, but they couldn't. They didn't know where she had gone and why she still hadn't returned. On the boat at this time, Roy was handcuffed. She looked at the man who had tranquilized her, and she realized that it was Phum. She kept telling him to release her, but he completely ignored her. When the boat docked, he got off the boat by himself and left. She automatically followed him, hoping that he would take her back. But things weren't that easy. It wasn't as if she could just ask for it and get it. This time, Phum was determined to have her stay there with him. In his mind, he thought that this would be the last time he would make her happy like the first time they had met, and that after this, he would probably have to continue living in that feud and get married to her sister. Roy followed him, telling him to give her back her phone, but it was no longer working now. After all, there wouldn't be any signal at sea. She pushed him towards the boat, telling him that he had to come back with her. But the boat had already gone too far away. It had gone so far away because of Phum's carelessness. He had forgotten to drop the anchor. Only the heavens could save them this time. Roy went deep into the forest to find something, and Phum still followed her every step of the way. On the other side, someone was watching the two of them. When they got to the place where she had hidden her things before, Phum helped her take out the things she had hidden there from her last trip. Roy took out the clothes and changed. Phum, shamelessly and pervertedly, stood there waiting to watch her change, but she chased him away without mercy. After changing her clothes, Roy felt itchy, as if something was on her. She yelled and called for Phum to come back and help her. After a while of struggling, Phum took a water snake out of her pants. The two of them were both scared and screamed. Roy was so scared that she fainted. Phum helped her lie down under a tree to rest. He gently took care of her. At this point, Roy woke up. looking at the handsome man in front of her, who wouldn't have their heart flutter. But in her heart, Roy was reminding herself that she wasn't allowed to love this man for another second. Roy left first to find a way to the shore, hoping that there would be a boat around the coast. But she hadn't gone far before two strangers kidnapped her. Luckily, Phum arrived in time and rescued her. The two of them ran for their lives, trying to find a way out, but they were slowed down when Roy twisted her ankle. The two strangers surrounded and blocked Phum and Roy. After using all of their strength to fight back, the two strangers were knocked unconscious. On the other side, Chiwi went to the beach and found out that Roy had been missing since that morning. Lucknom called Dath to inform her. Dath realized the coincidence that both Roy and Phum had disappeared on the same day and that she couldn't contact either of them. Dath suspected that the two of them were probably together. Her jealousy flared up again, and she decided to go to Mr. Phueng's farm in the countryside to find Phum. As night fell, Phum and Roy still hadn't been rescued. The two of them talked to each other. Roy asked him directly if his meeting with her family had all been set up by him. Roy asked him repeatedly, but he still remained silent. Roy earnestly pleaded with him, saying that if he really had bad intentions for her sisters, then he should tell her, and that she would solve the problem with him. Before Phum could answer, someone arrived to rescue them and take them back to shore. It turned out to be the boatman who had rented his boat to Phum. He had seen the boat drifting in the sea with no one in sight, and he was afraid that something bad had happened, so he had decided to go find them. Luckily, Phum and Roy had been rescued. Phum took Roy back. When Chiwi saw Phum, he wanted to rush in to hit him, but Roy stopped the two of them. Phum went back to his room and packed his things, preparing to leave. He was currently in a difficult situation. He didn't know whether he should choose revenge or if he should let go of everything and be with the person he loved. Phum bet that he would choose Roy this time, but when he went outside, he saw Chiwi hugging her from behind, and he was extremely jealous. He went to Chiwi and told him that he was a loser, and that no matter what he did, he wouldn't be able to get the person he loved. This statement successfully made Chiwi angry. He rushed in to attack Phum, and the two of them fought. Roy tried to stop them, but she was accidentally pushed away by Phum. Phum stopped and went to her to help her up, but Roy pushed him away and told him to get lost. So, Phum's bet had failed. He couldn't give up his hatred to be with Roy. He quickly drove away to his father's farm. Roy was also heartbroken. She cried alone in her room. Even though she knew that she loved him very much, she couldn't live immorally by loving the man who was about to become her brother-in-law. Roy accepted sacrificing her love for the sake of Thatha's happiness. The next morning, Dath also arrived at Mr. Phueng's farm. She was waiting for him outside, unaware that he still hadn't returned. Mr. Phueng heard from his worker that she had come to find Phum, but that Phum still hadn't returned since the day before, so he thought that he was probably doing something behind her back. Mr. Phueng told his worker to tell Dath that Phum was at the workshop. So, Dath went to the workshop to find him. Mr. Phueng watched her from behind, aiming a gun at her. Just when he was about to pull the trigger, Phum appeared. Mr. Phueng put the gun down and quickly left. Seeing Phum appear, Dath was extremely happy. All her doubts about the shady relationship between Phum and Roy had disappeared. After seeing Dath off, Phum talked to his father. He blamed his father for being so reckless as to try and kill Dath, and that if he hadn't arrived in time, then perhaps his father would be in jail now. Phum advised his father that he should just let him decide things from now on, and that their wedding day was approaching, and that the day he would destroy Thatha's family wouldn't be far away. He was sure that he would take revenge for his father. To make this decision, Phum was also in great pain. He didn't know when it was that he had been born to take revenge. He had to sacrifice his love for that hatred. Finally, the day of Phum and Thatha's wedding arrived. Because she wanted it to be private, Dath only invited her closest relatives to the party. Everyone came to bless her, and more especially, there was now the appearance of an uninvited guest, Matt. She was taking photos when she was pulled by Thatha's two bodyguards into a room to meet her. Dath smeared lipstick all over Matt's face, making her look very ugly, and then chased her out of the party. Matt, in her dirty and humiliated state, quickly left. She went into a room to tell Mrs. Suk that Dath had humiliated her. Matt and Mrs. Suk discussed their plan to ruin the wedding. Mrs. Suk was the representative of the bride's family, and if she said she didn't agree at that moment, the party would fall apart. Even though it was her older sister's happy day, the two younger sisters still had their own private sorrows. Especially Rin. She was extremely jealous of her older sister. From beginning to end, her face never showed a smile of blessing for her sister. Rin tried to reduce her jealousy as she saw Phum on the stage by remembering that she and he had registered their marriage and that the wedding between Nath and him was just fake and for show. While the two sides were exchanging rings, Mrs. Suk was about to go in when she was suddenly knocked unconscious with a tranquilizer. So, her plan to ruin the wedding couldn't be carried out. The party took place successfully under the blessings of the relatives from both sides. Matt didn't see Mrs. Suk, so she went to find her and saw that she was still sleeping. At this point, Mrs. Suk realized that she had been drugged and had missed the wedding party. In the evening, when Phum and Nath were preparing to go to their honeymoon room, Mrs. Suk appeared. Although they had gotten married, she still couldn't accept Phum as the son-in-law of this family. Hearing Mrs. Suk insult Phum, Nath spoke up to defend him, and she argued with Mrs. Suk. The two of them argued back and forth, and neither of them gave in. Phum and Mr. Phueng, seeing that the relationship between Nath and Mrs. Suk was gradually falling apart, secretly smiled. This was exactly what the two of them wanted. On the other side, Roy went to find her younger sister, Rin, and saw that she was drinking heavily by the beach. Roy took her to her room to take care of her. Perhaps because of the alcohol, Rin's emotions were very chaotic at the moment. She kept screaming Phum's name and said that he was hers. Roy tried her best to soothe her agitation. She coaxed Rin to go to sleep, but what was bothering Roy at this time was what the relationship between Rin and Phum was. Why was Rin so agitated and screaming his name? In contrast to Rin's chaos, in the honeymoon room, the married couple, Phum and Nath, were lost in lust, experiencing the most primal human emotions together. The next morning, Rin woke up, and Roy asked her about what had happened the night before and why she had kept saying that Phum was hers. Roy tried to convince Rin to tell her the truth about their relationship, but Rin only said that she had drunk too much the night before, which was why she was talking nonsense. Later, Roy was standing by the beach when Phum came up and started talking to her. Coincidentally, at this time, Roy also wanted to ask him about the relationship between him and Rin. But Phum only replied that she had never trusted him before, so it was best if Rin answered her instead. Their conversation ended when Nath came over from the other side. Looking at her face, it was easy to see that she was jealous that Roy was talking to Phum. Roy affirmed to her sister that they had grown up together and had shared the same clothes, but that she would absolutely never touch her sister's husband. Hearing this, Nath felt a little relieved. Phum and Nath left together for breakfast at the hotel. Roy also wanted to use this opportunity to see if the shady relationship between Phum and Rin was as she thought it was, and she also wanted to expose his promiscuous and scoundrel-like face in front of Nath. Roy pulled Rin to the table to have breakfast with Phum and Nath, as if it were the first meal to congratulate Phum for moving in with Nath. From the moment that her two younger sisters had appeared, the private time between Phum and Nath was gone. This made Nath clearly uncomfortable. As for Rin, from the moment that she had sat down at the table, her face had also become strained. Everyone started eating breakfast. Nath's eyes accidentally fell on the bracelet on Rin's wrist, which had a teardrop charm that was exactly the same as the necklace that she was currently wearing. Nath asked her younger sister where she had gotten that bracelet. Roy also remembered that Phum had also given her a pair of earrings with the same pattern, but she had coldly thrown them away. She was sure that he had bad intentions and wanted to seduce all three of her sisters. Roy wanted to use this opportunity to expose his evil face, but she didn't expect that. His lying skills had reached a new level. Phum said that when he had passed a jewelry store, he had seen this collection with 3 items and that he had thought of the 3 sisters. He said that it would be very pretty when they wore it. Therefore, he had decided to give it to all 3 of them, but Roy had refused. His perfect lie had fooled Nath, and she no longer had any suspicions about the jewelry. On the other side, Mrs. Suk was cursing at Mr. Phum, calling him filthy for drugging her and kidnapping her at the party. The two of them argued back and forth for a while. At this moment, Nath, who was having breakfast, received a call from an employee, informing her that Mrs. Suk and Mr. Phueng were arguing. She quickly went to where the two of them were. When Mrs. Suk saw Nath, she told her that Mr. Phueng was the one who had drugged her, and that if she didn't believe her, she could check the hotel's security cameras. Mr. Phueng couldn't let others accuse him so easily, and he showed that the video of Mrs. Suk and Matt discussing their plan to ruin her wedding. After watching it, Nath completely lost faith in her aunt. Now, in her eyes, Mrs. Suk was no different from a villain who was trying to ruin other people's family happiness. Nath declared that she was cutting off her relationship with her aunt and that from now on, they would live in separate places and that they didn't need to see each other anymore. Mrs. Suk left, unable to believe that one day, Dath would treat a family member like that just because of an enemy. She was truly as blind as a bat. She would see how she would cope when Phum betrayed her later. A few days later, Dath had a business trip to Chiang Mai. This time, she was going so urgently that Phum couldn't go with her because he had something to do. As for Roy, she deliberately went on a trip to get Phum's attention. As Roy had predicted, Phum had followed her. This was her plan to lure him to another place so that she could take action against him. When Phum woke up, he saw that his 2 hands were tied with handcuffs. Roy began to expose him, saying that he had wanted to get close to her 3 sisters to take revenge, right? From marrying Nath to making Nath and Mrs. Suk constantly argue, then to seducing the youngest sister, Rin, and then to deliberately following her for all these years, as shown in the photos that she had taken abroad that always showed him. On the other hand, Rin was upset because she had lost the bracelet that Phum had given her. She really cherished it, but now it had suddenly disappeared. Rin remembered her conversation at the breakfast table with Dath, and she immediately thought that her sister had taken it. Rin called Dath and angrily blamed her for taking her things without permission. Dath only said that they were sisters and that it was okay to share things. She had always been like that. Angrily, Rin yelled loudly. At Phum's location, he admitted that everything he had done was part of his plan for revenge because her father had cheated his family. His family had been destroyed by that land lawsuit. His mother had cried so much that she had gotten sick, and his father had lost all of his assets. His family's happiness had also been taken away. His family had fallen into poverty to the point where they had no rice to eat, and he had never even been able to go to school. From that moment on, he had thought about taking revenge on her family. Roy saw that what he was saying didn't seem to be true at all because her father had never cheated his father. Roy showed him evidence, a video of Uncle Kham recounting everything about the lawsuit from that year. In that year, Mr. Phueng had expanded his business into a new sector. Mr. Phueng had been interested in that project, so he had expressed his desire to contribute capital to collaborate with Mr. Phueng. Although Mr. Phueng hadn't had much cash at that time, he had a piece of land, so he had decided to mortgage it to Mr. Phueng. For the rest of the money, Mr. Phueng would invest it in his own company. Roy showed Phum evidence of the joint business contract between Mr. Phueng and Mr. Phueng, and they all had clear signatures. After looking at it, Phum still stubbornly insisted that Mr. Phueng had cheated his family out of their land. Roy continued to show him evidence. In that year, the business project hadn't gone well, leading to losses that forced the company to go bankrupt and pay its creditors. When Mr. Phueng saw how the business was going, he denied all responsibility. He told Mr. Phueng that he was the boss and that he was the one who had to pay all the debts and that he had nothing to do with it. Mr. Phueng demanded that he have his house back that he had mortgaged, and he avoided his responsibility to pay off his debts. But Mr. Phueng didn't agree because, after all, it was a project that the two of them had worked on together. So how could Mr. Phueng turn around and let Mr. Phueng pay the debts on his own? So from then on, Mr. Phueng always held hatred for the Phueng family, believing that he was a fraud. Roy pointed a gun at Phum and asked him what his reason for marrying Nath was. At this moment, her phone rang. It turned out that it was Rin calling. Rin told Roy that Nath was like a thief, that she had gone into Rin's room to take the bracelet that Phum had given her. Roy thought that it was just a simple bracelet, so it wasn't such a big deal that Rin was using such harsh words for Nath. Roy told her younger sister that she would buy it back for her. Why did she need to fight over it like this? Rin said that the bracelet was a beautiful keepsake between her and Phum, and that she wouldn't allow anyone to take it from her like that. Roy reminded Rin that Phum was now Nath's husband, and that she, as the younger sister, had no right to get involved with him. At this point, Rin angrily shouted at Roy, asking why she didn't have the right, saying that she and Phum were in love and that they belonged to each other. Hearing this, Roy was extremely shocked. She picked up the gun and pointed it at him, intending to pull the trigger, but he was faster and knocked the gun away and then ran away. Roy chased after him to find him. The two of them struggled back and forth with the gun, and Phum used his strength to push her away, accidentally making her hit her head on the edge of the table and losing consciousness. When Roy opened her eyes and woke up, she saw that Phum was by her side. He was gently taking care of her, but she completely avoided him and wanted to chase him away immediately. Phum hugged her and comforted her. He told her that he would stop with Nath and Rin and come to her. Phum moved closer to her lips and forced a kiss on her. Roy struggled and pushed him away. Roy woke up. It turned out that it had all just been a dream. She went outside to find someone when her younger sister, Rin, appeared. Rin said that Phum had called her to come there to take care of Roy. Roy wanted to go find Phum to deal with him, but Rin stopped her, telling her not to hurt her husband. Hearing her younger sister say that, Roy thought that her younger sister was just delusional after having given her virginity to Phum and thinking that she had become his wife. Roy advised Rin to stop her wrong feelings for Phum because he had only approached their family to take revenge and that he had never truly loved anyone. Rin still stubbornly refused to listen to her sister. She affirmed that the relationship between her and Phum had all come from love and that it had nothing to do with hatred. She said that she really loved Phum. At this point, Roy didn't want to hear anyone else talking. She hugged her head and broke down crying. Phum had appeared and ruined her family. Her older sister was now going against Mrs. Suk because she loved him. Her younger sister was blindly in love and doing immoral things. Roy was helpless and didn't know what to do to save her family. At the Wanachat Corporation now, that had fired Uncle Kham, and Mr. Phueng had replaced him in his position. That had truly been blinded. She had even fired her father's close friend and let the enemy in. Today was Mr. Phueng's first day at the company. He was very happy because the day that he would take over the corporation wouldn't be far away. At the hospital, Roy received news that Mr. Phueng had been hired at the Wanachat Corporation. She couldn't sit still and wait for treatment at the hospital anymore. She had to return to the company to deal with this matter immediately. She tried to talk to Nath, but she deliberately didn't understand. None of her words had any effect on Nath. She completely rejected them. The two sisters started arguing loudly again. Nath, angry, told Roy that if she continued to bring up the past land dispute between the two families and hate Phum and his father, then she would cut off her sister relationship with her. In Mr. Phueng's private office, he was putting things away when he accidentally saw the file about the old loan agreement between him and Mr. Soen. After reading the agreement, he just wanted to throw it away immediately. He didn't want anyone to see the secret that he had hidden for so many years. But his actions had been recorded by a hidden camera. In the evening, Nath and Phum came home, hand in hand, happily talking and laughing. After seeing the bracelet that she had cherished for so long on her sister's hand, Rin insisted that she had to have it back. Nath told Phum to go upstairs to rest, and that she would talk to her younger sister privately. When it was just the two sisters, Nath told her younger sister that it was just a bracelet and that she didn't need to demand it back so much. She said that she had sacrificed too much for this family, sacrificing her youth and her passion for the piano in order to try and build the corporation to be as strong as it was now. She had given her two younger sisters a comfortable life, where they didn't need to worry about material things, and that now, she was even demanding the bracelet back. Rin was still insistent that she had to have that bracelet back. The two of them struggled back and forth, making the bracelet break and fall to the ground. In despair, Rin picked up the bracelet and cried. Angrily, she rushed over and struggled with Nath when Phum came over to stop the two sisters. Nath pulled Phum away and went back to their room, leaving Rin alone, hugging the bracelet and crying in despair. The next day, Phum went to the company early and secretly went into his father's private office to take the camera that he had hidden along with a diary, and then he left. He sat down to watch the entire video and finally realized the truth. It turned out that his father had really borrowed money from Mr. Soen, but his father had told him that Mr. Soen had forced him to mortgage his land to do business. He opened the diary that his mother had written before she had died, and the contents said that Mr. Phueng had borrowed 20 million baht from Mr. Soen, and that after Mr. Phueng had mortgaged his house to do business and had run out of capital, he had also owed a lot of money to the bank. Now, Phum knew the truth about the dispute from that year. So, for all these years, his father had been lying to him so that he would take revenge on the Soen family. His revenge was almost coming to an end. He had even sacrificed his love for it. But at the last minute, he realized that his father had never been cheated. What was he going to do to save the situation now? At home, Rin, in a tired state, kept calling for the maid. After a short while, she fainted. The maid quickly took her to the hospital. When Roy received the news that her younger sister had been hospitalized, she put aside all of her work and went to find her. From the maid's words, Roy learned that ever since her younger sister had argued with her older sister about the bracelet, she hadn't left her room to eat or do anything else. The doctor came in to announce Rin's condition. He said that Rin was completely fine. The reason why she was tired and sluggish was that she was pregnant. Roy was shocked and couldn't believe her eyes. As for Rin, she was completely the opposite. She was very happy because she was now carrying Phum's child. As for Phum, after learning that his father had lied to him about the dispute from that year, he didn't know what to do to make things go back to normal. He decided to meet Roy to talk. The two of them met outside. When Phum arrived, he deliberately didn't get out of the car, forcing Roy to get in the car to talk to him. But before he could say anything, Phum locked the doors and sped away to a place far away. This time, Phum truly wanted to throw everything away and run away with Roy. He ignored Roy's pleas to stop the car and continued driving on the road. Roy grabbed his steering wheel to try and make him stop the car, causing him to lose control and crash the car into a tree on the side of the road. At home, Rin was sitting down and eating to nourish the baby in her stomach, but as soon as she smelled the food, she started throwing up. Seeing her younger sister like that, Dath was extremely worried. She went to ask her what was wrong. Rin locked the door and wouldn't let her sister in, saying that she was fine and that it wasn't Dath's business. Dath kept knocking on the door, and finally, Rin opened it. Rin angrily yelled at her sister, asking why she was asking so many questions and to stop scrutinizing other people's lives. Dath didn't understand why her younger sister had such an angry attitude with her today when she was just concerned about her health. Dath wanted to straighten her younger sister out. The two sisters struggled with each other to the point where Dath was pushed down to the ground. The two sisters started arguing again, and Dath turned around and grabbed her younger sister's hair, forcing her to kneel down and apologize for being so rude to her older sister. At this moment, Mrs. Suk walked by and saw the two sisters fighting, so she went over to stop them and separated the two. Girls. On the other side, the front of Phum's car was billowing smoke after it crashed into the tree. The two of them got out of the car. Phum had a wound on his forehead, but he didn't care. The only thing he cared about at this time was Roy. However, as soon as he touched her to ask if she was okay, Roy pushed him away. She told him to never think about running away with her again. She said that he had to go back home and take responsibility for Rin because she was now pregnant with his child. Roy was angry after all of his vile acts. She gave him a hard slap, but that slap wasn't as painful as Phum's heart was right now. He himself didn't expect that things could go so far. Phum could only say sorry to soothe Roy, but that apology didn't work for Roy at this time. She hated him so much for coming into her family and destroying it. That evening when she got home, Dath worriedly asked Phum where he had gone since the afternoon because she had called him, but he hadn't answered. At this point, Dath noticed the wound on his face, and she worriedly asked him about it. On the other side, Rin, hearing that Phum was injured, came over and asked him with concern. Dath was extremely jealous when she saw her younger sister being affectionate with her husband. Dath pushed Rin away, and the two sisters had another argument. Phum spoke up and told everyone to stop. He said that he had been out since the morning and was a bit tired, so he asked for permission to go to his room to rest. When Roy came back from outside, she saw that Rin was sad. Roy asked her what she was going to do about the baby in her stomach and if she had told Dath and Phum yet. Rin still trusted Phum, so she was still determined to let Phum handle everything, but at this point, Rin's face changed when she heard Roy say that she had already told Phum about her pregnancy. Angrily, Rin shouted at Roy, blaming her for interfering in her business. Rin wanted to be the one to tell Phum to surprise him. The next morning, Rin took advantage of the time when Dath was getting ready in the bathroom, and she secretly went in to talk to Phum. Rin asked Phum why, when he had found out that she was pregnant, he hadn't looked for her right away and that he hadn't even called her. Phum had to take Rin outside immediately because he was afraid that Dath would see them and that everything would be ruined. While the two of them were talking, Roy came over. She intended to go find Dath to expose Phum's true face, but her younger sister, Rin, stopped her. She told Roy to stop interfering in the lives of her and Phum and to let Phum handle everything on his own. Roy was helpless with her younger sister. Even at this point, she still believed that Phum was a good person. She even said that the love between her and Phum was nothing wrong and that it had all come from pure feelings. The two sisters started arguing loudly, attracting Dath's attention. She came out of the bathroom and asked why her two sisters were arguing so loudly so early in the morning. Rin lied, saying that the two sisters had had a slight disagreement, but that it was nothing. Then, Rin pulled Roy away from there. At the company, Dath asked her secretary to check what 2 red pills were. She had taken the 2 pills from the dining table after her younger sister, Rin, had vomited and run to the bathroom. Matt, who was walking by, saw them and also wanted to know what they were. So, she took the opportunity when the secretary left the pills on the table and deliberately dropped her things to make the secretary pick them up. During that time, she quickly took a photo of the pills. Matt sent the photo of the pills to her friend, and she finally found out that they were prenatal vitamins. She began to conspire with Nat to post information that subtly hinted at a story about a high society older sister who had just married a younger man, who had just moved in with a group of single girls, but the pregnant one was the high society younger sister. On the other side, Beth asked her secretary if she had found out what kind of pills they were yet. The secretary said that they were prenatal vitamins. Hearing about the situation that her younger sister, Rin, was pregnant, Beth immediately returned home to handle it. As soon as Beth walked out of the company building, she ran into Nat. She didn't forget to make a few sarcastic remarks about the trending story on social media about that high society older sister and younger sister. That successfully angered Beth, and she rushed over to beat Nat like a little puppy. Still with that angry look on her face, Beth immediately went over to beat her younger sister for destroying the family's reputation and for bringing shame to the family by getting pregnant without being married or even having a boyfriend. But if Beth knew that the father of the baby in her younger sister's stomach was the person she shared a bed with every night, who knew how she would react? Luckily, at this moment, Roy, Lucknom, and Mrs. Suk arrived in time to stop the two sisters before things went too far. Roy told Lucknom to take Rin to her family's private hotel while she would handle Beth. Mrs. Suk didn't know who the father of the baby was either, so she went to a familiar hospital that her family frequented to ask because she was sure that Rin had gone to that hospital for a checkup. Uncle Com's wife was someone who worked at that hospital, and she also knew about Rin's pregnancy. She even knew who the father of that baby was. So, when Mrs. Suk asked her, she didn't hesitate to tell her the whole truth. At the company, Mr. Phueng discussed a plan with Phum, telling him to quickly make the Wanachat Corporation go bankrupt. But now, he didn't listen to his father's words anymore. Phum had decided that this time, he would go back and tell everyone the truth, and that the revenge should stop here. Mr. Phueng was upset that his son had left without listening to him, so he would handle the rest. Phum was driving back home when he received a call from Rin. She said that she wasn't at home and that Roy had left her at a hotel. So, Phum immediately turned the car around and went to the hotel where Rin was to find her. When Phum arrived at the hotel, Roy was also there. She stopped him from going to see Rin. She told him that he had to confess everything that he had done to Beth first, and then they would continue to think about Rin. At this time, at home, Beth received information that the stocks she had invested so much money in to buy were rapidly losing value. Beth, after seeing this, didn't know what to do, and she felt like she was going crazy because so much of the corporation's money had been used to buy foreign stocks, and now it was all being lost. If she didn't find a way to fix this, then the corporation would quickly go bankrupt. Beth calmed down to try and find a solution. At this time, Mrs. Suk and Uncle Com's wife walked in. The two of them told that the vile thing that had gotten Rin pregnant was none other than that man, Phum. At the same time, Beth's brain had to process too much shocking news. On top of that, she was also hearing Mrs. Suk scolding, and it made her want to explode. Beth immediately drove home to find Rin to deal with her for destroying the family's reputation and for bringing shame to the family by getting pregnant without being married or even having a boyfriend. At the hotel, Rin took the opportunity when Lucknom opened the door to get food from the waiter, and she quickly sneaked out. While Rin was running away, she accidentally met Mr. Phueng there. He lied to her, saying that he had come to take her home as Phum had instructed, and that Phum had also talked to Beth about her pregnancy, but that the two of them seemed to have come to an agreement, so there hadn't been any arguments. This made Rin feel more at ease to go back home, because she thought that Beth would probably make up with her. At this moment, Roy and Phum had just arrived at the company when Roy received a call from Lucknom, who told her that her younger sister, Rin, had run away from the room. Roy thought that her younger sister had probably just gone home, so she wasn't too worried. Phum and Roy intended to go inside to see Beth, but they were too late. Beth had returned home not long ago. Now, in the office, there was only Mrs. Suk and Uncle Com's wife. Mrs. Suk told Roy that Beth had returned home not long ago to find Rin because she had told Beth about Phum getting Rin pregnant. Roy, stopping Mrs. Suk from hitting Phum, quickly returned home with him. She felt like something bad was about to happen. Mr. Phueng had successfully taken Rin back home. She quickly went to the small house to wait for Phum to return. Not long after that, Beth came back feeling angry. She went to the small house to find her younger sister, Rin. As soon as she saw Rin, Dath rushed over to beat her relentlessly. Dath's madness grew when Rin kept saying that Phum didn't love Dath, and that the one he loved was Rin. Rin even showed her the marriage registration certificate between her and Phum. At this point, Dath's anger reached its peak, and she rushed over to hit Rin, even throwing a vase at her younger sister's head. In pain, Rin barely managed to get up. She tried to escape, but she was no match for Dath. Dath pushed Rin down to the ground and relentlessly beat her stomach to destroy the baby. At this point, Rin's body started bleeding from below. She had miscarried. While Rin was too weak to fight back, Dath pushed her down the stairs. Phum arrived just in time, but it was already too late. He hugged Rin's weak and bloody body. He took her outside, but it was too late. Rin managed to say her final words to him, saying that she loved him very much, loved him until her last breath, and then she lost consciousness. Phum painfully hugged Rin's body. Roy went outside and saw that her younger sister no longer had any breath left. She cried uncontrollably at her sister's passing. Dath was still in a fit of anger. She kept calling out her younger sister's name and said that she wanted to kill her. Immediately after hearing that her younger sister had died, she even smiled happily, but then she asked where her younger sister was so that she could take her to the hospital. Dath kept alternating between these two opposite states. It seemed like she had gone crazy. A month later, Roy was reading the news about the Worathip Corporation, which was currently suffering huge losses to the point where it was almost going bankrupt after that foreign investment. On the other side, her older sister, Dath, was like a lifeless corpse. Ever since she had found out that she had been betrayed and had killed her younger sister with her own hands, she had gone insane. Day after day, she hugged her ring tightly, and she mumbled that Phum loved her very much. So, now, Roy replaced Dath to become the chairman of the corporation to save Worathip. And Phum, after all the mistakes that he had made to Roy's family, was now drowning in alcohol day after day. Phum called Roy and asked to meet with her to beg for her forgiveness and to give him another chance to start over, but Roy resolutely refused to meet him. She even cursed and scolded him terribly. She said that it was because of him that her family had been destroyed, and that she would never forgive him. Phum sat down and recalled the sweet moments from the first time he had met Roy, and then all of his plans for revenge. At this point, it was really too late for regrets. He was the one who had caused suffering to Roy's family. Because of his hatred, he had traded everything, including love and lives. Because he was torturing himself for the many crimes that he had committed and that he could no longer make up for, Phum decided that he would end his own life as his punishment. Phum took out his gun and shot himself in the temple. So, in the end, the hatred had come to an end, but the ending was too cruel. It had taken the life of Rin, it had taken Nath's intelligence and sharp mind, and finally, it had taken Phum's life. Mr. Phum was left alone in his house. After Phum's death, he realized that everything was caused by him. If he hadn't lied to Phum about the dispute from that year, then perhaps his son would still be there. The movie ends here. Thank you everyone for watching our channel's movie review. See you all in the next movies, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe so that we have the motivation to make other movies. And if you want us to make reviews about any other movies, please leave a comment below. Goodbye, and see you again.